Hey everyone, we're Atenas, Bethany, and Jody here at Earthkind Crafts, and we're so excited and grateful that you're joining us for this down-to-earth crafting session and some peaceful time with nature's gifts. Today we're going to be making these botanical twine wall hangings. They're super cute and easy to make, and you can customize them in so many different ways to suit your unique taste or the season you're in. Let's get started. Alright, so we've laid out the materials you're going to be using for this project. First off, you're going to want a piece of cardboard. Medium weight is ideal, and it can be as big or as small as you'd like, depending on your preference or whatever you have lying around. This one here, for reference, is about 9 by 12 inches in size. You're going to want a pen or a pencil, something to draw out your shape, unless you want to just freehand cut it. In that case, go for it. We like to sketch something out ahead of time. If you want something to make it a little bit easier, you can use a template of some sort to cut and trace or transfer to your cardboard. We do have a link to several simple shape options that you can use for this, to print out as well. You're going to need some twine, something to hold those flowers in place, a pair of scissors to cut the twine, and to cut out your cardboard shape. Probably not your nicest pair of sewing scissors, as cardboard is rough on the blade, but use what you have available to you. Another great option is a box cutter to cut the shape out of your cardboard if you don't want to ruin your scissors. It's good to have garden shears to trim things to size as you arrange your flowers, especially on those thicker stems, but an old pair of scissors can work as well. We're going to need some glue. We had Elmer's school glue on hand, and it's a good non-toxic option. There are some pretty inexpensive options out there if you don't have one lying around. Grab a paintbrush to brush it on. And obviously, a nice selection of leaves and flowers. We used dried bouquets we had on hand, as well as a variety from Trader Joe's that we ended up drying at home ourselves. You also need some dried moss to cover up the edges and create a lush green base layer for your blooms. To hang our piece when we're finished, we're using some leftover string from another project we're working on. You can also use twine for this, or if you have any other ideas on how to display your piece, that's great too. Okay, let's get crafting. First, we're going to trace out our shape of our piece, and this can be any shape you want. As mentioned before, if you're feeling confident and want to freehand your cutout, awesome. We're using one of the template options from the link we've provided. For this demo, we're obviously making a star, but you can do a wreath, a circle, a crescent moon, a flower, really whatever shape you feel inspired to make. Once our template shape is cut out, we're going to trace around it onto our cardboard and cut along those lines. The last step of the cardboard prep is to cut shallow notches in the cardboard around the edge to catch the twine. Next, grab your twine. Leaving enough of a tail to allow you to tie it off once this part is done, begin wrapping it around your shape in crisscrossing patterns. As you wrap, make sure you have coverage everywhere you want your dried flowers to be, with the twine overlapping in several places. You'll want it loose enough so that your flowers don't fall out, but make sure you don't wrap it too tight or it will be difficult to get your stems underneath it. You also don't need to go wild with this, or the string will just end up getting in your way. Okay, now we tie this off so it's secure. Now you're going to take your dried moss and your glue. Using your paintbrush, apply glue just around the edges of your shape and press your dried moss onto it. We found it easier to do this in small sections at a time, and you may have to do this if you're using a glue or adhesive that dries faster. You don't need a very large amount of moss to get covered here. Remember, you'll be covering the bulk of your shape with flowers, and you need enough of your twine exposed to do that. If a little bit of cardboard is showing, don't worry. You have a chance at the end to add more moss around the edge and fill up any space between your blooms as needed. Another option if you don't have any dried moss or choose not to use it is to paint your cardboard and twine before adding flowers to give it a bit of camouflage. Now's the fun part. You're going to turn to your lovely selection of flowers and leaves and whatever else you've gathered and start tucking them into the twine. This is where your own creativity gets to really kick in. Choose a color scheme that makes your heart happy. We've pulled out a selection of flowers in advance in a variety of sizes. Start with the bigger flowers to ground your composition. Once you feel satisfied with the placement of the larger flowers, start filling in with smaller flowers and leaves, arranging your stems in different directions so that you cover all of the twine. We're stripping away extra leaves and trimming some of the stems as we go. The smoother the stem, the easier it will be to get it to slide into place. The rougher it is, the more friction it will have against the twine, making it difficult to place your flowers. You'll get a feel for the balance as you go. Cut the stems as you need in order to tuck them into your twine. We're trimming these fairly short as we found that the longer stems tend to just get in the way. The great thing about this part is that you can rearrange and play as much as you want. Since it's not time sensitive, you get to add and remove elements as you please until you find an arrangement that you love. Remember, there's no right or wrong about this. Ask yourself, is this done enough for the project or done enough for me? Just work on this till it makes your heart feel happy. Our final step is to tie a bit of string or twine to the back for hanging. You can tie it around the exposed twine in the back or punch a hole through the cardboard. What we're doing here is sending our string under where a couple lengths of twine cross in a somewhat centered position, matching the ends and tying a double overhand knot. Tighten your knot up at the length you want it to be. And with that, voila, you're all done. We hope you're so proud of what you've created and that your soul feels refreshed by making time for yourself and your creative practice. We would love for you to recreate this project and share it with your friends and family. From our experience, it's a really beautiful gift to gather in community with others and work with our hands around a table filled with flowers and friends. Thanks so much for crafting with us, and we'll see you next time.